Princess Leora walked slowly along the upper terraces of the Zatha royal palace. The sky above was a swirl of emerald and gold as the planet's twin suns began their slow descent. From this height, she could see the floating gardens that hung like jewels in the air, connected by shimmering bridges of light. Everything about Zatha spoke of beauty, order, and the brilliance of her people, yet Leora felt restless. Her heart seemed to pull her towards something she could not yet name. The sound of hovercraft engines drew her attention. Across the central plaza, a small human delegation had just arrived. Humans were rare in the royal city, their presence often treated with curiosity and caution. Most of her people looked at them with a mixture of fear and skepticism. Humans were known to be unpredictable, sometimes reckless, and often underestimated by her people. But as Leora watched them, she noticed one human in particular. He moved with calm confidence, stepping off his transport without hesitation, scanning the surroundings with bright, intelligent eyes. Captain Ethan Ward. That was the name on the diplomatic list. His dark hair and steady posture marked him as different from most humans Leora had seen in her world. There was something in the way he observed the surroundings, careful, thoughtful, yet unafraid, that made her chest tighten. Leora had seen diplomats before, humans and aliens alike. They were usually stiff, polite, and distant, but Ethan's curiosity shone in every movement he made. The royal summons came quickly. Leora was expected to greet the delegation in the Grand Hall. The corridors of the palace were long and polished, echoing her every step. Her gown shimmered softly under the crystal lights, threads woven with Zathar's signature starlight fabric. She felt the weight of expectation as the future queen of her people, trained to uphold tradition and protocol, and yet a tiny spark of excitement flickered in her heart, something she had not felt in many years. The Grand Hall was a vast, domed space with floors that reflected the sky above. Leora entered, and the humans bowed awkwardly but sincerely. Their gestures were not like the precise, flowing movements of her people, but there was honesty in them. She offered a polite nod and stepped forward. "Princess Leora," said the head of the delegation, a human in a dark uniform. "We are honored to be here on Zathar." Leora inclined her head. "And we are honored to host you. I hope your journey was not too difficult." He shook his head. "No difficulties we could not handle. Your planet is remarkable, remarkable." That was a word humans used easily, yet Ethan said it with genuine awe. Leora could see it in his eyes, the way he studied the walls, the floating lights, the delicate architecture. He was not pretending to admire. He truly saw the beauty of her world. That made her curious. The delegation was led to a set of chambers for discussions. Leora's role was largely ceremonial, to show hospitality and observe, but Ethan's presence kept drawing her attention, even during the formal introductions. When words of diplomacy floated between her people and the humans, her eyes kept finding him. He listened, asked questions, and offered suggestions that were thoughtful and practical. It was unusual. Humans were rarely invited to consult in such matters, and even rare for one to display a mind that could match the brilliance of Zathar scholars. After hours of discussion, the delegation was guided to the palace gardens for a brief rest. The gardens were wonder plants that glowed with gentle light, fountains that floated and rotated in midair, and creatures that hummed softly as they moved among the flora. Leora wandered there as well, partly to escape the suffocating protocol and partly drawn by an unspoken urge. She found Ethan at the edge of a pond, leaning slightly to observe the way the water reflected the sky. "It's beautiful," he said, quietly, as if speaking to himself rather than to her. "It is," Leora replied, stepping closer. "It's called the Sky Mirror Pond. It reflects both suns. But the effect is strongest during dusk." Ethan looked up at her. "I can see why it's famous. Most places I've visited have beauty, but this, it feels alive." Leora smiled, surprised at his choice of words. Few of her people ever described their world as alive. They spoke of perfection, precision, and brilliance, but not life. "You see more than most humans," she said softly. He shrugged. "I try. There's value in looking closely. Sometimes you see things others miss for the first time in years. Leora felt that spark of excitement grow into something more, a feeling that made her pulse quicken. She didn't know the human very well, yet she was drawn to his honesty, his courage, and the way he seemed to care about understanding rather than just observing. She wanted to know more. "Would you like to see the floating bridges?" she asked impulsively. "Few humans ever get to walk on them." Ethan's eyes lit up. "I would be honored." They walked together through the gardens, Leora pointing out plants and creatures, explaining their uses and meanings. Ethan listened, asked questions, and even suggested ways some human tools might enhance the garden's care. His curiosity was unending, but so was his respect. Leora felt a strange warmth she had never felt before, pride, admiration, and something deeper that she could not yet name. As they reached a high bridge, suspended above the glowing flora, Leora paused. She looked down at the humans below, the rest of the delegation moving slowly through the gardens, unaware of the connection forming above. Then she looked at Ethan. "You are different from others," she said quietly. "Most humans I've met are cautious, distant, or merely polite. But you," he smiled gently. "But you care," she admitted, almost in a whisper. "You care about what you see, about what you do. You're not afraid to question things." Ethan's gaze softened. "And you? Do you care about what you see, Princess?" Leora felt her heart leap. I do. I've always cared about my people, about Zather. But sometimes I feel trapped by rules, by expectations. And yet, seeing someone like you, it makes me wonder if there's more than duty." There was a moment of silence. Round them, the gardens glowed, the twin suns dipping lower. Leora knew that what she felt was dangerous. Aliens were not supposed to bond with humans beyond diplomacy. There were laws, traditions, and centuries of caution that forbade it. Yet, standing there with Ethan, she felt as if the universe had grown larger, more alive. Ethan reached out, gently pointing to a floating flower. "This is called the Luminara bloom. They respond to emotion if you are happy. They glow brighter." He smiled, and Leora felt her chest tighten again. The flower pulsed, glowing stronger as she laughed softly. "It seems to like you," she said. "Or maybe it's showing me what I feel." Ethan's eyes met hers. "Then maybe it's right." A warning bell echoed from the palace. Time was short. The delegation had to return for evening negotiations. Leora knew she had to leave. But she did not move immediately. Something inside her urged her to linger, to understand these feelings that had awakened so suddenly and powerfully. "Thank you, Captain Ward," she said, voice soft but steady, "for showing me more than I thought I would see today." "You are welcome, Princess Leora," he replied, "and thank you for showing me your world. I hope we will meet again." Leora nodded, yet as she walked back toward the palace, a heavy weight settled on her shoulders. Her heart had chosen something dangerous, something forbidden. She could not yet speak these feelings aloud, but she knew one thing: she wanted to see him again. And perhaps, in time, she would need to make a choice between duty and her heart. That night, as the twin suns disappeared and the city lights shimmered across the sky, Leora lay in her chambers. Her thoughts returned again and again to the human who had stirred something within her. He was unpredictable, different, yet somehow extraordinary. The spark she had felt on the bridge would not fade. She could not allow it to. For the first time in her life, Princess Leora realized that curiosity, courage, and compassion qualities she had admired from afar might just be the bridge between two worlds. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered that the story between her and the human had only just begun. The morning sun bathed the Zather royal palace in pale golden light, reflecting off the crystal spires and shimmering bridges. Princess Leora moved quietly through the halls, her mind still alive with thoughts of the human, Captain Ethan Ward. She had barely slept the night before, her dreams filled with strange, wonderful images of him smiling, asking questions, laughing at the smallest curiosities. She could not explain why his presence had affected her so deeply, but the feeling was undeniable. Leora had duties to perform, as the princess and heir of Zather. The day was full of meetings, briefings, and discussions about the political tensions that plagued her world. The human's arrival was part of a peace negotiation, and her role was mostly ceremonial. But Leora found herself impatient during the formalities, glancing frequently at the observation window where she had first seen Ethan. She wondered what he was doing, whether he noticed her thoughts or if he, too, felt the strange pull between them. When the delegation returned to the palace gardens for another break, Leora decided to act. She told her attendants she wished to inspect the Luminara blooms and quietly slipped away. The floating bridges glimmered in the sunlight, and she felt a rush of anticipation with each step. Today, she decided, she would speak more freely, even if only for a short while. Ethan was already waiting near the sky mirror pond. He had a small notebook in his hands, sketching or recording something, his brows furrowed in concentration. When he noticed Leora approaching, he stood and offered a polite, warm smile. "Princess Leora, I wondered if you might visit the gardens again today." "I could not resist," Leora replied, her voice lighter than she expected. "There is much I wish to show you." Together, they wandered along the bridges and paths, the air fragrant with glowing flowers. Leora explained the way the gardens were maintained, how the floating floor responded to light, wind, and emotion. Ethan listened intently, asking questions that revealed genuine curiosity. "Do these plants react to mood?" he asked, pointing to a flower that pulsed softly as they walked past. "Yes," Leora said, nodding. "They respond to energy. When someone is joyful or calm, they glow brighter. When someone is anxious, the light dims." Ethan crouched to observe a cluster of blooms. "That is incredible. On Earth, humans have tried to create something similar, but nature itself is far more advanced here." Leora smiled. "You notice details that others often overlook." They walked farther, reaching a waterfall that floated without touching the ground, a soft mist creating rainbows in the air. Ethan extended his hand slightly toward the mist, letting it drift over his fingers. Leora watched him, fascinated by how open and unafraid he was, how he embraced the unknown with quiet wonder. "You humans are brave," Leora said softly, almost as if she were thinking aloud. Ethan glanced at her. "Bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes it's facing danger. Sometimes it's admitting what you feel." Leora's heart skipped a beat. His words, simple yet profound, resonated deeply. She realized that bravery could also mean crossing boundaries, challenging tradition, and embracing connection even when it was forbidden. And yet, her mind reminded her of the danger. Her people had strict laws regarding humans. She was a princess, expected to uphold those laws. Could she truly follow her heart without risking everything? Ethan noticed her pause and offered a reassuring smile. "Princess Leora, I do not mean to trouble you. I simply wish to learn, to understand." "You do not trouble me," Leora replied, forcing a smile, though her pulse quickened. "It is comforting to meet someone who seeks to understand rather than judge." Their conversations grew longer as the day passed. They spoke about their worlds, sharing stories and traditions. Ethan told her about Earth's vast oceans, mountains that seemed to touch the sky, and cities full of both chaos and beauty. Leora shared stories of Zathrad's history, culture, and the responsibility she felt toward her people. With each story, their bond strengthened. It was more than curiosity. It was respect, admiration, and a subtle connection that neither fully understood. Later, they reached a quiet alcove where small glowing birds perched among the flowers. Leora paused, her gaze drifting to the horizon where the twin suns touched the edges of the city. "Do you ever think about the future, Ethan? About what lies ahead?" Ethan considered this. "I do. On Earth, the future is uncertain, but I try to focus on what I can do now, on the choices that matter. Sometimes, those choices shape more than just one life." Leora's heart ached with the weight of that truth. Her choices were bound by duty, tradition, and the expectations of her mother, Queen Aranya. And yet, standing beside Ethan, she felt the possibility of a different path, a path where courage, curiosity, and compassion could guide her. Suddenly, a shimmer in the garden's air caught their attention. A patrol of royal guards moved swiftly, their weapons drawn, eyes scanning the surroundings. Leora's heart sank. I did not realize how late it has become, she said quickly. You must return to your delegation. Ethan raised his hand slightly in acknowledgement. I understand, but I hope we will continue this conversation. There's much more I wish to learn from you and from your world. I hope so too, Leora whispered, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. She watched him depart, the echoes of his steps fading into the distance. Alone, she allowed herself a moment to breathe. Her heart was alive, yet the tension of duty pressed heavily upon her. Back in her chambers, Leora could not focus on her official duties. She gazed at the twin suns dipping below the horizon, thinking of Ethan and the unexpected connection they shared. It was a dangerous attraction, one that could bring scandal or disapproval. Yet she could not deny its existence. For the first time, she felt that curiosity and courage might guide her as much as tradition and law. That evening, the human delegation hosted a formal dinner in the palace. Leora attended, her attention torn between diplomacy and her desire to see Ethan again. He greeted her warmly, but they were both careful to maintain proper distance in public. Still, every glance, every small exchange of words felt electric. Each smiled at the other with subtle understanding, a shared secret that no one else could see. After dinner, while others retired to discuss treaties and protocols, Ethan asked for a brief walk in the gardens. Leora hesitated, aware of the risk, yet curiosity and longing one. They moved through the softly glowing paths, speaking in whispers. Princess, Ethan said carefully, I know our worlds have rules, and that there are limits to what we can do. But I feel something important between us. Something that could mean more than duty or law. Leora's heart raced. She nodded slowly, her voice trembling with honesty. I feel it too. It is. And like anything I have felt before, I do not know what it is, but I cannot ignore it. Ethan reached out, just enough to brush his fingers against hers. A spark of warmth passed between them, subtle yet undeniable. Leora felt it deep within her chest, a connection that defied logic, reason, and the strict laws of her people. Then we must be careful, she said softly. We cannot let others see this, not yet, but I want to know more, to understand what this could be. Ethan nodded, his gaze steady and sincere. We will be careful, but I promise, Princess, I will not walk away from this. Whatever it is, whatever it becomes, I want to face it with you. They parted at the edge of the garden, each carrying a mixture of excitement and fear. Leora returned to her chambers, her mind racing with thoughts and possibilities. She knew her feelings were dangerous. She knew her mother, Queen Aranya, would never approve if she discovered the depth of her connection with a human. And yet, she could not deny what her heart desired. That night, as Zathar's twin moons rose and cast silver light across the palace, Leora lay awake. The gardens, the floating bridges, the glowing flowers, all of it felt alive with the memory of Ethan's presence. She realized that curiosity, courage, and compassion, qualities she had always admired from afar, could now guide her own choices. And perhaps, in understanding this human, she could discover a path that honored both her heart and her duty. Leora did not yet know how dangerous this bond could become, nor the challenges that lay ahead. But she knew one thing with certainty: she wanted to see him again, to learn more about the human who had awakened something extraordinary within her. And in that decision, the first spark of change had begun, not just for her heart, but perhaps for the future of both their worlds. The halls of the Zathar royal palace felt colder than usual that morning. Princess Leora walked with a quiet determination, but a weight pressed heavily on her chest. The previous days had been filled with stolen moments in the gardens, whispered conversations, and the growing, undeniable connection she felt with Captain Ethan Ward. Yet, she knew that the walls of duty and tradition were closing in. Her mother, Queen Aranya, had a sharp mind and a sharp tongue. As the ruler of Zathar, she valued order, loyalty, and the preservation of their civilization above all else. Humans were known to be unpredictable, impulsive, and potentially dangerous. And now, her daughter, the heir to the throne, had spent days in the company of one. Leora did not have long to wonder. The royal summons arrived before breakfast, delivered by a silent attendant. Princess Leora, the attendant said softly, bowing low. Her Majesty requests your presence immediately. Leora straightened, smoothing her robes. She walked through the corridors, each step echoing like a drumbeat in her chest. She could feel her mother's eyes waiting, sharp and piercing, ready to judge. And indeed, when Leora entered the throne room, Queen Aranya's gaze fell upon her daughter like a blade. Leora, the queen said, her voice calm but edged with steel. You have been seen in the gardens with a human captain. Leora's heart skipped a beat, but she held her posture, meeting her mother's eyes. Yes, mother, she admitted, her voice steady. I have spoken with him. Queen Aranya's eyes narrowed. Spoken? You have spent days with him, alone, secretly. Do you realize the implications of this? I understand, Leora replied softly, but I did not act against our people's safety. I sought only to understand him, to learn who he is and what he represents. The queen's expression hardened. Humans are not to be trusted. They are outsiders, unpredictable, and untested. You, my daughter, are heir to the throne. Your duty is to our people, not to a human visitor. You risk scandal, and worse, compromise our security. Leora took a deep breath, feeling the pull of her heart and the weight of responsibility collide. Mother, she said, I know humans are different, but I have seen courage in him. I have seen wisdom and kindness. He is not like the others you fear. He is enough. Queen Aranya's voice echoed through the grand hall. Do you think words can change centuries of law? Do you think admiration can outweigh duty? Leora bowed her head slightly, fighting the tremor in her voice. I am not asking to break the law. I only ask, please, consider that humans may offer more than danger. They can be allies, not enemies. And Captain Ethan, he has shown honor, bravery, and respect for our people. Shouldn't that matter? Queen Aranya paused, her sharp gaze softening for the briefest moment. Leora, you are wise, but naive. Honor and bravery do not erase the unpredictability of an outsider. Our laws exist for a reason. You will end this relationship immediately. Do you understand? Leora's heart ached. The word relationship felt too strong, yet it captured the truth she could not ignore. She straightened, lifting her chin. Mother, I cannot. I cannot simply end what I feel. Captain Ethan has shown me that there is more to the universe than rules and fear. I need to understand this. I need to know what it means for me, for us, and perhaps even for the future of our worlds. The queen's eyes blazed. You defy me, Leora? You defy the throne? I do not defy you, Leora said, her voice trembling but resolute. I honor you by seeking truth, by seeing the potential for good in those who are different. I honor Zather by not limiting myself to what is expected, but by exploring what could be. Queen Aranya's expression shifted from anger to incredulity, as if she could not comprehend the depth of Leora's resolve. You speak of exploration and potential, she said slowly, yet you risk everything, your reputation, your position, and your people for a human? Yes, Leora whispered, because he has shown me that we can be more than we have been. We can learn, we can grow, and perhaps we can unite. A tense silence filled the throne room. The queen's advisors, standing along the walls, watched the exchange with barely contained astonishment. Never had a royal dared speak so boldly, especially about humans. For centuries, Leora's people had been cautious, often suspicious, and always wary of outsiders. Yet here stood a young princess, defying centuries of tradition with courage, curiosity, and hope. Finally, Queen Aranya spoke again, her voice quieter, almost reflective. You are brave, Leora, perhaps too brave for your own good. But bravery without caution can destroy as much as it can create. She studied her daughter, her gaze softening. If you insist on pursuing this connection, know that you walk a dangerous path. One mistake could bring shame, scandal, or worse. I understand, Mother, Leora said, bowing her head. But I must follow what I know to be right. The queen sighed and gestured to the doors. Leave now. Reflect on your choices. Consider the weight of your words. We will speak again. Leora left the throne room, her heart pounding. The encounter with her mother had been intense, frightening, yet oddly empowering. For the first time, she realized that her feelings for Ethan were not a weakness, they were a source of strength. She had stood her ground, voiced her beliefs, and shown courage in the face of authority. Later that day, Leora returned to the gardens, needing the comfort of the glowing plants and the floating bridges. She found Ethan waiting, as if he had known she would come. His face brightened when he saw her. "You look troubled," he said softly. "Is everything all right?" Leora hesitated, then nodded. "I have spoken with my mother, and," Ethan asked, stepping closer, though careful to maintain respect, "she is worried. She does not trust humans, and she fears what this might mean for me and for my people." Leora's voice softened, but she did not forbid me entirely. She listened, and perhaps, in time, she may understand. Ethan smiled gently. "You are brave, princess, not just for standing before your mother, but for speaking the truth of what you feel." Leora returned his smile, feeling warmth in her chest. "I am afraid," she admitted. "Afraid of what may happen if we are discovered, if our bond is seen as a threat. But I cannot deny what I feel. I want to know him, to understand him, and I want him to understand me." Double quotes. Ethan reached out and lightly brushed her hand. "Then we will take it slowly, carefully. We will learn together, and we will face whatever comes." "You are not alone, Leora." The gardens seemed to glow bright around them, the luminara blooms pulsing softly as if responding to the strength of their connection. Leora felt a sense of hope, a belief that what she felt was not only real but meaningful. Over the next few days, Leora and Ethan continued to meet in secret, their bond deepening with each conversation, each shared experience. They discussed philosophy, history, and the challenges their worlds faced. They laughed at cultural misunderstandings, marveled at each other's inventions, and challenged one another's thinking. With every moment, Leora felt her heart open more fully, and she realized that this connection was not fleeting, it was a force that could change her life, and perhaps even the future of both their worlds. But even as they shared these moments, Leora could not ignore the reality of her mother's warning. Zathar was a civilization built on order, rules, and tradition. Any sign of scandal could undermine everything she held dear. And yet, she could not walk away. Every stolen conversation, every laugh, every shared glance only reinforced the truth she had discovered, that courage, curiosity, and compassion could be more powerful than fear, suspicion, or ancient laws. As the twin suns set over the floating city, Leora and Ethan stood together on a bridge overlooking the gardens. The soft glow of the plants reflected in their eyes, creating a quiet, magical light around them. "Whatever comes," Leora said, her voice steady, "we must face it together. If my people cannot understand, if my mother cannot understand, we will find a way to show them what is possible." Ethan nodded, his hand gently brushing hers. "And I will be with you, princess, every step of the way." In that moment, Leora felt a surge of hope. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger and challenge. But she knew one thing with certainty: she could not deny what she felt. And in standing up to her mother and defending her right to see the truth in Ethan, she had discovered a strength she never knew she possessed. The night deepened, and the city lights shimmered below. Princess Leora realized that her story was only beginning, not just a tale of forbidden friendship, but of courage, unity, and the spark that could bridge two worlds. And somewhere deep within her heart, she knew that the future, uncertain and untested, held possibilities greater than she had ever imagined. The morning sun rose over Zathar, spilling golden light across the floating gardens and crystal towers of the royal city. Princess Leora woke with a renewed sense of determination. The conversation with her mother, though tense, had sparked a fire within her. She could no longer ignore the bond she shared with Captain Ethan Ward. More than that, she believed he could prove to her people and to her mother that humans were capable of courage, intelligence, and honor. The opportunity came sooner than expected. A distress signal flashed across the Royal Communications Network. One of the human colonies on the outskirts of Zathar's space had been caught in a cosmic storm, a rare but devastating phenomenon. that could destroy an entire settlement if left unchecked. The human delegation panicked, unsure of how to respond quickly enough to save the colony. Leora's heart raced. This was more than a chance to help. They could turn this disaster into an opportunity to demonstrate the true potential of humans and the power of cooperation. She strode into the council chamber where the emergency meeting had been called. Her robes glinting in the pale sunlight. "Captain Ward," she said firmly, pointing to him, "you are a skilled human strategist. Together, we can save the colony. Will you join me in leading a rescue mission?" Ethan looked at her, surprise and determination mixing in his expression. "I will do everything I can, but we need a plan that blends human ingenuity with Zather technology." Leora nodded, her mind already racing. "We will combine our strengths. I know the terrain, the weather patterns, and the storm's potential path. You understand human tactics and improvisation. Together, we can succeed." The Queen's advisors gasped at Leora's proposal. A princess leading a rescue mission alongside a human? It was unprecedented. Whispers filled the chamber, but Queen Aranya remained silent, watching her daughter carefully. Leora could feel the Queen's gaze like a weight on her shoulders, but she refused to be deterred. Minutes later, Leora and Ethan prepared for departure. The palace hangars were filled with advanced Zather ships, sleek and powerful, capable of navigating the most dangerous conditions. Ethan examined the controls, asking questions about shields, propulsion, and weather navigation. Leora explained every detail, her knowledge precise and thorough. "You are remarkable," Ethan said quietly, glancing at her. "You truly know your world." "And you," Leora replied with a small smile. "Teach me to see new possibilities even within the familiar." The mission began. The sky above Zather was streaked with clouds of emerald and violet, swirling violently as the cosmic storm approached the human colony. Leora guided the ships with skill, her knowledge of the terrain allowing them to navigate safely through treacherous currents. Ethan coordinated with the human engineers, suggesting techniques that complemented the Zather technology. As they approached the colony, the storm intensified. Lightning danced across the clouds, and gusts of wind threatened to tear the ships apart. Panic could have spread, but the combined determination of the princess and the human captain steadied everyone. "Focus on the shields," Leora called out. "Keep the energy balanced, or the wind will throw us off course." Ethan's voice rang clear over the comms. "Divert power to the thrusters. We'll need every ounce of control to reach the central hub." Together, they guided the ships through the storm, coordinating every movement with precision and trust. Leora admired Ethan's quick thinking and courage under pressure. She realized that humans, though often underestimated, had a unique ability to adapt and improvise in ways her people rarely considered. Finally, they reached the colony. The storm raged around them, but the combined efforts of Zather technology and human ingenuity allowed them to land safely. Leora and Ethan led teams to secure buildings, evacuate citizens, and stabilize energy cores that threatened to overload. Every decision was a blend of strategy and courage, and every action strengthened the bond between the princess and the human captain. Hours passed, but slowly, the crisis was brought under control. The storm began to subside, and the colony's systems stabilized. Citizens emerged from shelters, their eyes wide with gratitude and amazement. They had witnessed firsthand the courage, skill, and cooperation of humans and aliens working together. Leora stood beside Ethan on a platform overlooking the colony. She could see the relief and admiration in the faces around them. Her heart swelled with pride, not just for their success, but for what they had accomplished together. "You did it," she said softly, her hand brushing against his. "We did it," Ethan replied, smiling. Together, news of the mission spread quickly across Zather. Citizens, scholars, and even the Queen's advisors spoke of the unprecedented cooperation. Humans, once viewed with caution and suspicion, were now seen as capable allies worthy of respect. And at the center of it all were Leora and Ethan, whose courage and determination had turned fear into admiration. When they returned to the palace, Queen Aranya awaited them. The Queen's expression was unreadable, her hands folded in front of her. Leora approached, her heart pounding. "Mother," she began, "we have returned. The colony is safe. Humans and Zather worked together. They saved lives," and Queen Aranya raised a hand. "I have seen the reports," she said slowly, "and I have seen you, Leora, standing beside him, leading your people with wisdom and courage." She paused, her sharp gaze softening. "I underestimated you, and perhaps I underestimated the humans as well." Leora's chest tightened. "You mean, you forgive me?" The queen's eyes met her daughter's, steady and thoughtful. "I did not speak of forgiveness. I speak of understanding. You have shown bravery, judgment, and insight that I had not expected. And the human captain, he has proven himself, not just through courage, but through honor and intelligence." Leora felt tears of relief prick at her eyes. She bowed deeply. "Thank you, Mother. I will continue to honor our people and our laws, but I cannot ignore what I have learned, or what I feel." Queen Aranya regarded her for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Very well. You may continue your association with caution. But know this, the responsibility lies with you. One mistake could undo everything, and yet, you have shown promise, Princess. Perhaps there is more to this connection than I had believed." Leora smiled, a sense of hope filling her heart. She had not only saved the colony, but also gained her mother's cautious approval. The impossible had become possible. She had turned fear into trust, suspicion into respect, and doubt into hope. Later, as night fell and the city lights shimmered across the floating gardens, Leora found Ethan waiting. He held out his hand, a silent invitation. "We did it," he said simply. "Yes," Leora replied, taking his hand. "Together, we did it, and now, perhaps, we can show the universe that humans and Zather are stronger united." Ethan nodded, smiling. "And we will continue to prove it. One step at a time, Princess." They stood side by side, looking out over the city, feeling the pulse of life and possibility in every glowing flower and crystal spire. For the first time, Leora felt the future open before her, vast and full of hope. She knew the path would not be easy. There would be challenges, doubts, and perhaps opposition, but with courage, understanding, and the human captain beside her, she was ready. The mission had been more than a test of skill. It had been a lesson in unity, trust, and the power of connection. Leora realized that humans, with all their differences, had qualities that could inspire her people, strengthen her world, and perhaps even change the galaxy. And as she looked at Ethan, she understood that the bond they shared was not merely friendship, it was a partnership, built on trust, courage, and the belief that two very different worlds could find strength together. The night air was cool and filled with the gentle hum of glowing creatures in the gardens. Leora felt a quiet thrill at the thought of what lay ahead. The path to unity was not without risk, but it was a path worth taking. And she knew, deep in her heart, that with Ethan by her side, nothing was impossible. For the first time, Princess Leora allowed herself to dream not just of the human she cared for, but of a future where Zather and humanity could stand together, strong, courageous, and united. The spark of change had been ignited, and nothing could extinguish it now. The twin suns rose slowly over Zather, painting the floating city in shades of gold and emerald. Princess Leora stood on the upper terrace of the palace, her eyes scanning the horizon. The past days had been filled with excitement, danger, and discovery. The rescue mission had proven more than just bravery. It had shown the people of Zather that humans could be honorable, courageous, and allies worthy of trust. Yet, the question remained, could her mother, Queen Aranya, fully accept what had begun between her and Captain Ethan Ward? Ethan approached quietly, his footsteps soft on the polished stone. He held a small device in his hands, one that he had modified to help further improve the safety of the colony they had saved. "Princess," he said gently, "I wanted to show you something. If we apply this to the energy cores at the colony, it will increase stability and reduce the risk of future storms." Leora smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest. "You always think of solutions, even after the danger has passed." Ethan shrugged modestly. "It's what humans do. We adapt, we learn, and we try to make things better. But I could not have done any of this without you. You guided me, Princess. You showed me your world and yourself." Her heart fluttered at his words. She realized that their bond had grown stronger than she had expected. It was more than admiration or friendship. It was trust, understanding, and a deep connection that neither laws nor tradition could easily break. "Ethan," she said softly, "we have faced so much together in these days, and I feel that what we have is important not just for us, but for our worlds. My mother must see it too." Ethan nodded. "Then we will face her together, Princess." "I am ready, if you are." Leora's stomach tightened. Queen Aranya was not easily persuaded. She was wise, cautious, and protective of her people. But Leora had learned something essential. Courage and honesty could shine brighter than fear or doubt. Taking a deep breath, she led Ethan toward the throne room. Inside, Queen Aranya waited, her expression a mixture of curiosity, concern, and authority. "Leora," she said, her voice calm yet commanding, "you bring him here again?" "Yes, Mother," Leora replied firmly, yet respectfully. "We have come to speak openly. There's much that must be understood if our worlds are to grow together, if trust is to be built." Queen Aranya's eyes softened slightly. She gestured for them to sit. "Speak, then. I am listening." Ethan bowed his head slightly in respect. "Your Majesty," he began, "I know your people have reservations about humans. I understand your caution, and I respect it. But I have seen the courage, the wisdom, and the compassion of Zather. And in return, I hope to show that humans can be honorable allies worthy of trust and friendship. More than that, I care deeply for your daughter, Princess Leora, and I wish to stand with her, not only as an ally, but as someone who respects and supports her in every way." Leora felt her pulse quicken. Ethan's words were sincere, clear, and respectful. Queen Aranya studied him carefully, her sharp gaze searching for deceit. But all she saw was honesty, bravery, and integrity, the qualities she valued most in a leader and a companion. "Your words are bold," the queen said slowly. "Yet boldness alone does not guarantee wisdom. Actions speak louder than declarations." Ethan nodded. "Then allow me to act. Give me a chance to prove the worth of humans, not just through words, but through deeds. And if I fail, I will accept whatever judgment you deem appropriate." Queen Aranya considered him silently. The memory of the recent rescue mission flashed in her mind, the human captain guiding the operations, coordinating with Zather engineers, and saving countless lives. She recalled the calm courage, the intelligence, and the steadfast focus he had displayed under pressure. No human had ever impressed her in such a way. "Very well," she said finally. "There is one more test, though not of skill. It is of heart, judgment, and unity. Leora, Ethan, you must present to the Council of Elders the results of your collaboration and demonstrate how your bond can benefit both humans and Zather." Leora's heart leaped with hope. This was the chance to show that their connection was meaningful, that humans could be allies, and that love, courage, and trust could unite worlds. She turned to Ethan. "We can do this," she said firmly. "We will do this." He agreed. The Council of Elders convened in the Grand Hall, an assembly of the wisest and most respected leaders of Zather. The chamber was vast, with crystal ceilings and glowing bridges casting reflections across the polished floors. Leora and Ethan entered together, standing side by side. Feeling the weight of expectation and history, Leora spoke first, her voice clear and steady. "Honorable Elders, I stand before you not just as a princess, but as a representative of the possibilities that lie between our worlds. Captain Ethan Ward and I have faced challenges together, worked to save lives, and learned from one another. We have seen that humans, though different, can bring courage, wisdom, and innovation to Zather. Our bond is built on respect, trust, and shared values." Ethan stepped forward, meeting the eyes of each elder. "I am not here to replace or diminish the greatness of Zather. I am here to work alongside it. I have learned from your princess, from your people, and from the strength of your world. Together, we have saved lives, solved problems, and proven that humans and Zather can be stronger united than apart." The council members murmured among themselves. Some looked skeptical, others curious, but all were attentive. Leora felt her pulse quicken, knowing that this was a pivotal moment not just for her, but for the future of both species. One elder, a tall figure with silver hair and eyes that seemed to see into the soul, spoke. Princess Leora, Captain Ethan, your actions have been remarkable. But tell us, why should we believe that this bond, this friendship can extend beyond a single mission? Leora took a deep breath. Because what we share is more than friendship or admiration. It is a belief in possibility, a courage to explore beyond fear, and a commitment to values that matter: honor, compassion, and understanding. Humans and Zathar are different, yes, but in our differences, we find strength. Together, we can face challenges that neither of us could overcome alone, Ethan added. Our bond shows that unity is possible, that trust can be built, and that courage comes in many forms. If allowed, humans and Zathar can learn from one another, grow together, and face the future with confidence. Silence fell over the council. The elders exchanged glances, their eyes thoughtful. Then, one by one, they began to nod. Whispers of approval spread through the hall. The impossible had become possible. The human, once seen as an outsider, had earned the respect through courage, action, and integrity. Queen Aranya stood, her expression a mixture of pride and contemplation. She turned to Leora and Ethan. You have done what few could. You have shown that courage, honesty, and unity can overcome fear and doubt. Princess Leora, you have honored your people and your position. Captain Ethan Ward, you have proven the worth of humanity. Leora's heart soared. She bowed to her mother, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. Thank you, Mother. I will continue to honor Zathar, always. Queen Aranya stepped closer to Ethan, her gaze piercing yet approving. You have my respect, human, and my blessing, with caution. Cherish it, for it is earned, not given lightly. Ethan bowed deeply. I will honor it, Your Majesty. That evening, as the twin moons rose over Zathar, Leora and Ethan stood together on the palace terrace. The city shimmered below, alive with lights, energy, and the quiet hum of progress. For the first time, Leora felt that the future was open, full of possibility, and bright with hope. You know, Ethan said softly, I never imagined that one human could make such a difference. But I think, together, we can do anything. Leora smiled, feeling the warmth of truth in his words. Together, she agreed. Hand in hand, they looked out over the horizon. Two worlds once separated by fear and distance, now joined by courage, trust, and a bond that had proven stronger than tradition. The journey had not been easy, but it had led them here to understanding, unity, and a future where humans and Zathar could stand together, facing whatever challenges came their way. And as the first light of dawn touched the crystal towers, Princess Leora realized that the greatest strength was not in power, law, or technology, but in the courage to follow one's heart, the wisdom to embrace differences, and the willingness to build bridges between worlds. The story of a princess and a human captain had begun as curiosity and wonder. Now, it had grown into something far greater, a symbol of unity, hope, and the limitless potential of courage, compassion, and understanding. And in that light, a new era began, one in which the impossible was no longer beyond reach, and the bond between two very different worlds could shine brighter than the twin suns themselves.